Welcome back to another episode of the Apocalypse Podcasts. Today, we got a good one as always, I guess. Boy,
Kyle.
I did not prepare for this intro. I'm just like flying way off the cuff. This is dog shit.
I love our host Kyle just nailing this intro so far.
Yeah.
And me, co-host of Taylor, bringing up the rear, clearing up the intro, and setting it back to zero. Okay, you got this, Kyle.
Got a big fucking caboose, this guy. So, we're doing we're talking about spoilers today for Magic the Gathering. This is our once every 3 week Magic episode, and we just decided that we're going to talk about the spoilers because a new set is coming out called Tarkir Dragonstorm, and we got with us only one of our two resident Magic boys today. Carver, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Super excited to talk about Tarkir Dragonstorm.
Yay. Tarkir, Dragonstorm. Yeah, Carver and I used to talk about spoilers for just like hours and hours on end, and it was always really fun. And so we're hopefully going to be able to get that spirit going today and talk about all the spoilers. There's not that many. There's only 11 cards so far. We kind of did this episode probably a couple weeks too early because I think the previews officially start like next week.
Yeah, probably this like upcoming work week.
Yeah, so we would have had a lot more to talk about, but they spoiled some pretty cool cards today, and I think it'll be.
That's something I think
cool
is
to
actually
talk
kind of
about.
cool about the way when they do the preview for the sets or whatever. They tend to spoil like mechanically interesting cards to get people like this exact kind of thing going, rather than some draft chaff or just some random. Even just rares that are powerful, they're usually at least thematically relevant.
Yeah, like they've hit. Well, looking at them now, yeah. I mean, we've only seen pretty much. We're looking at Mardu, Abzan, and Jeskai. They haven't shown Teamer or whatever the other one is.
Sultai.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with that because Sultai has always been kind of boring to me. I feel like it's just mill stuff, so maybe they'll switch it up this time around. I guess Jeskai is still looking like spellcasty kind of things, but
So, all right, I want to actually. One thing I'm really excited about this set. I did not play Tarkir in any shape or in any format, but these wedges, right? These are the wedges, are my favorite color combinations in all of Magic. Abzan, Sultai, and Teamer are my favorite color combinations to play. Ironically, I played both Shards and Gangster Shards, Streets of New Capenna, and it's like those 5 color combinations just don't tickle my fancy. But these ones in particular, I don't know, I get very excited. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the wedges versus the shards. I like the wedges too. Of course, you know, I'm majorly partial to Grixis, but over the years, they have firmly cemented Grixis as like the Spellslinger archetype, which I fucking hate. I really wish they leaned heavier into the Unearth, Graveyard Matters, you know...
Black-red
kinda,
splash blue instead of blue-red splash black?
Blue-red, black, splash blue. Yes, basically, yes.
Dude, I said it fast and smart.
Yeah, I had to slow that way down and dissect it for my tiny brain. Yeah, Grixis was so cool in Shards of Alara, and they just kind of went away from that. So, yeah, for the most part, I think like Mardu and Abzan are both really, really cool. Probably my two favorite trio of colors.
Carver, what's your favorite?
That's funny.
Yeah,
I was going to say, like, Jeskai is definitely my favorite. You were almost poo-pooing it with just like the way you talked about it first, Kyle, with like it's a spell slinger or whatever. I don't know. But Jeskai is so cool. It's like one of my first modern decks, like before the original Tarkir came out, was like an America control deck that.
Yeah, Mantis Rider, baby.
Yeah, and then the Tarkir came out with the Jeskai cards in it, and dude, it was so much fun to play like a white-red deck splashing blue in that format, or just, you know, a free Weapon Master, so aggressive, the Morph card, so aggressive, so strong. Yeah, I think Jeskai is really tricky and fun. And then I actually also really like Teamer. I think those color combinations are like blue-green probably mostly, but then you get a little reach with red, you know? So, yeah, I actually think those are probably my two favorites. So it's interesting Hearing your guys' are more.
What is the
Abzan,
fifth
Mardu.
shard? Because I think there's a fifth shard that no one has named, right?
Sultai? Is that the one we haven't talked about?
Because I like Salt. Did we?
Jeskai, Abzan, Mardu, Teemer,
Oh,
Sultai.
Mardu.
We've named
I don't
all
think
5.
Kyle, you said
I said Mardu.
Okay. I think what I think is interesting about Mardu is I feel like they make really interesting stuff, but not super powerful. It never feels like, I don't know, the way that like I feel like Jeskai, they have enough tools printed in that wedge. Whoa, my mic! I smacked the shit out of my mic. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you belched in the middle of
Yeah, that's literally what it sounded like. I thought you had mid-word amazing belch.
You don't know how much I talk with my hands during this podcast, but I just smacked the mic arm. But I feel like that Jeskai gets like a lot of powerful tools. I just feel like Mardu for some reason is like the most easily stopped. I don't know why. That might just be
it's just because it's just creature stuff, and
even like
even in original Tarkir, it was not much beyond like tokens matter, and
I hate that my favorite play styles are the easiest countered, but that's life.
What's your wait? How what?
Like growing wide is very easy to counter. Just like creature centered. Like strategies that are just like go wides are like wraths, and control is generally I think easier to handle than like a Jeskai Spellslinger, or aggro in particular I find is stronger than like a look, this is just my experience playing standard with this color wedge, okay, from the years like 2019 forward. So
yeah,
that's just been my experience.
Typically, I mean, white and red specifically are like two of the generally lower cost, smaller creature colors, I feel like. And so having two of them, and then I think black is black has some big demons and stuff throughout Magic's history, of course, and other things. But I also think black is one of those, green goes big, blue I feel like has big spells. So without those two colors, I feel like sometimes maybe Mardu is a little underwhelming. And you're right, if you go wide with a bunch of 2/2 white creatures and then someone just plays like a 4/4 green creature, you just get stonewalled. So I can see what you're talking about, that like that color combination is maybe a little more easily answerable than some of the others.
I think what I realize is that they just have printed much better board removals as time has gone on. And so like look at Sunfall, 5 mana remove from the game the board, and then you can make an XX creature. Like it's like against a token deck that's literally converting their tokens into their own creature. Like, yeah. So just board removal or board wiping has just gotten so much better over time, which has made token strategies feel less powerful, I guess. As well.
Creatures have gotten a lot better too. Not to get way off on a tangent, but I feel like board wipes, like in Vintage Cube, let's say, because I play a little bit of that. I feel like board wipes are like kind of almost not bad, but they're like not like what they used to be. Like you would wipe the board and you would be like at least 3 for 1 your opponent, your board wipe for their 3 creatures. Now they'll have like a tireless tracker that already drew them a couple cards.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, and so board wipes I think have kind of had to level up to try to meet some of these sticky, really good Thragtusk type creatures that are just like never death or whatever. So it's interesting. Yeah, I see what you're saying though. Yeah, board
it's a chicken or the egg situation, right? It's kind of like the board wipes had to get better to stick around with those dang sticky creatures. But yeah, that was I just needed to know baseline where our hearts are at when we see these cards. Who's the most? When we see Jeskai, I'm going to think Carver now. Okay, I'm glad we have this established.
Yeah, because I love going to like, okay, my last turn I played a 2/2, and now I play my third land. And like on turn 2, I played a 2/2. On my turn land, I play the land, then attack with my 2/2, my 3 mana up, and just make my opponent like sweat a little bit. That stuff is fun, and I feel like Jeskai is like the perfect color combination for that. You know what I mean? So
it's funny. I will submit the exact same sentence as Carver did as to why I hate Jeskai. So I agree. Yeah, it does suck. I'm too impatient to play around control players.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how all R3 specific play styles are just create a perfect triangle of kind of like opposition to each other. Taylor likes the simpler onboard gameplay, big creatures, big spells, like everything is kind of just face up and you just kind of have to deal with it. Carver, like he just illustrated, he loves to be tricky. He likes to make the opponent sweat and think about things, and he likes his complicated sequencing kind of turns. And I am sort of in the middle. Like I love huge explosive power that, sort of lends itself to green and big creature stuff, but like you guys know the way I play all of my Reanimator decks and Graveyard Matters decks, like I like the huge explosive turns and playing big powerful things, but I also like the trickiness of getting the sequencing right, and I like setting things up and having to protect the setup to then have the good payoff. And so yeah, we have a really cool kind of holy trinity of play styles that complement and counter each other perfectly. So
yeah,
it's always fun to talk about this stuff.
Kyle, do you remember when New Capenna came out and you told me that there's a Jund general that you were super excited about, and I thought you meant like, I think it's like the dragon that's like I forget what the actual Capenna name is, but the Jund dragon that's like the legendary, because I thought it was great. And you're like, no, Henzi. Like, Henzi's what I think is awesome. It speaks to what you just mentioned, but like, when I looked at Henzi, I was like, but you have to sack the creature. Like, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I don't get it. You know what I mean? But like, that's what you love, is like that like super explosive. You don't care the creature's gone. You drew a bunch of cards. You're going to refill, do it again next turn. All this movement and explosivity. And it's just so funny how when you said, oh yeah, that Jund general's so cool. And I like look at the spoilers and I'm like, this guy, and you're like, no, that card sucks.
No,
I want no Henzi. It's just so, it's like, I didn't even see Henzi when you made that comment. It's funny how different it is.
Yeah, just the way our brains work. Yeah, we just don't see the same things in the cards. Yeah, and Henzi is still my boy. He is probably stronger than Cedrus, unfortunately, because he's basically like Unearth, but minus having to get the thing in your graveyard first. You just you unearth stuff from your hand instead of unearthing it from the graveyard. It's pretty much the same thing, but I feel like the decks play really differently too. They get to use completely different creatures. Jund is probably my other... I think if we're talking Grixis style, Shards of Alara style, Grixis is my favorite trio, or, colored trio, obviously. But if we're talking modern, like current Magic, I probably gravitate towards Jund and Mardu more than anything else.
You know what the best part about Jund is? It's got the fucking most metal... I don't know, I love the word Jund. It's just like, fuck you.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I agree. Jund's great.
Yeah.
So what?
And weirdly, Jund has like a really few playable generals. I feel like a lot of the Jund commanders are just not that
what
good
I've always
or interesting.
Heard Jund described as it's just like a pile of good stuff. Like they don't have any like big cohesive the way like Grixis just like a giant gross flesh machine working together. Jund is just like a bunch of goblins and monsters and dragons and explosives, just random shit all thrown together.
Yeah, it's just great. It's got like good creatures, good mana, good removal. Like that's all it has, and that's why Henzi I think is probably the most interesting Jund general they've made probably ever, because it actually does a cool weird thing. Anyways,
you Beetlejuice this, and now I'm looking up Henzi because I was like, I'll just ignore it. How the fuck do you spell Henzi?
Henzie. He's
Henzi. This little sumbitch.
Yeah, Henzi Toolbox.
Yeah.
Much like Cedrus, he has a very simple line of text.
Yeah, this is Cedrus 2.0. Yeah, I remember this.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Henzi. He's well, I guess he has 2 lines of text. But yeah, all of the cards in your hand gain Blitz. And then their blitz cost is reduced by 1 for every time you've cast Henzi. So he has a little bit of built-in reduction, but for the most part, just your hand now can blitz is so fucking cool. And it's so fun.
His name he even has in air quotes toolbox. Like, come on.
I know. It's just like that stupid new little creature, Loot, or I think his name is Loot.
God, Loot, get Loot away from me.
Oh my God.
He's a hero, isn't he?
Oh, he is. I just hate him. He can eat all of my farts.
Why are they putting what the cards do in quotes? It's so bizarre. Like,
that
Cedrus, Reanimator deck.
Okay, Kyle.
The Traitor King.
To be fair, that set was the gangster set, and that could be kind of like his nickname. Yeah, that's kind of the reason I think that set in particular used that. Loot is just because that he was found in the vault. I don't know. I know the lore of Loot, and it's lame.
Let's just talk about Henzi, though. I mean, because one of the things that's just so awesome about Henzi, too, is like that last line where the blitz cost gets reduced by 1 more each time you cast him. I can't, Kyle, how many times I've killed Henzi once, and the second time you play Henzi, now everything's reduced by 2, and it's just oh my god, it's so good. Like it's unbelievable. So
he puts your opponent in such a tough spot because like you don't want me to be blitzing all the time, but if you kill him, the next time I play him, my blitz is going to be even easier and better. So it's almost always better to leave Henzi in play and never kill him. Unless you can kill him like 3 times and make him impossible for me to cast, but I'm also Jun, so I have really good mana base and acceleration, and like you got to kill Henzi at least twice, I would say. Once he costs 7 mana, then it can be like, ugh. But
anyway,
yeah. Anywho's, let's talk about Tarkir Dragonstorm. Let's get the first card going here. We all looking at the cardy
and up on Scryfall.
Yep, alphabetical order. Just keep it simple. All right. The first card, I'm just going to introduce it, and then maybe we'll just go in a circle, and we'll each read out a card. I don't know if we need to talk about all of them. Well, actually, we kind of do.
We probably won't have much. If we don't have a lot to say, then we can just move on to it quickly. I bet you that'll be nice.
Because there's one at the bottom that's basically just Oblivion Ring, and who cares about that? But, all right, so the first card is Barren Steppe Siege. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. It's an enchantment. When it enters, you choose Abzan or Mardu. If you choose Abzan, at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And if you chose Mardu, at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Wow!
Did you not read this, or you just forgot about it?
No, I'm acting. Wow! No. I genuinely forgot that's the second ability. Like, while we were talking, in my periphery, I kept like being reminded what the first one was, but I didn't make it. That is fucking crazy. This enchantment is actually fucking bonkers.
All right, so this is what's funny is like the mode I like more seems like way overcosted. Like the Abzan one, right? Because that's what is the enchantment that has an adventure mode? It's 2 mana to make the 2/2 knight, and then you at the end of your turn you put a 1/1 counter on each creature and untap it for 5, I think.
Oh, Virtue, the white Virtue.
Yeah, the white Virtue.
Yeah, the white Virtue.
So like to me this seems
that card is insane.
This card seems like I like that +1/+1 counter mode, but I'm trying to ask, is that overcosted for 4? It feels like that's not like super aggressively costed, but the second mode feels kind of nutty.
Wait, isn't there? Yeah, I think this is overcosted, although it is easier to cast. Isn't the Bant one from the Bant Ascendancy? Doesn't that put a +1/+1 counter for just Bant mana? Doesn't that put a +1/+1 counter or loyalty counter on Planeswalkers? Doesn't it like for 3 at the beginning of that step? So. And maybe this is a little overcosted, but you get the
modality.
Option.
Yeah, the modality. So I really like this thing because I also love that this is that they're going to clearly have a cycle of these like in between wedges where you can lean it either direction.
Yes.
And like what's really cool about this design is that Mardu and like both of those effects are both going to be good in decks with multiple like creatures. You're going to need things that like you want little dorky things you can throw away. But also you want little dorky guys to grow. So like it's good in both types of decks that would want this. So I really like the design. The power level, I don't have a lot to say, but like I want to think this thing is really good. I'm terrible at rating cards, but I really like it. Even if one mode is overcosted or not, like I think it's gonna be awesome. And especially even if it's just a white-black deck, like, man, that's good shit.
Yeah, these cards get me really excited for the rest of them. If this is a cycle, which I really hope it is, because in the first Tarkir block, they released an enchantment just like this, but it was monocolored, right? They did 1 for black, 1 for green, 1 for whatever. And you played them and you chose one of 2 modes. Usually one of the modes was better than the other, and you always chose that mode. Like the black one, you pretty much always chose the one that brings a creature back from your graveyard to your hand every turn, because the other mode was like every upkeep they lose 2, you gain 2, which in EDH is fucking worthless. Most of the time. Of course, there's niche decks and whatever that have, But anyways, same with the blue one. I played the blue enchantment in Cedrus because I always chose the mode that was at the beginning of your upkeep, draw an extra card and discard a card. So you got a free loot every turn. And the other mode was spells that target your creatures cost 2 more to cast. So very niche. I literally didn't pick the mode a single time in the years that I had that in Cedrus. It was always just draw an extra card and discard. So my long-winded point is both of these modes seem very relevant, and I'm really excited to see the rest of the cycle where both modes are really cool, and they will work in both of the decks. Like, if you have an Abzan deck, and you're going to be playing against somebody, even like a Jeskai deck where they don't play many creatures, but the ones they do play are really important, like, you slam Baron Step Siege and you pick Mardu, and suddenly all of their creatures are, like, heavily at risk all the time. Because if the Jeskai player uses all their removal spells to kill your creatures, they're in effect killing their own creatures, so they're going to be way less incentivized to do that. And then if the Baron Step Siege player is playing against, maybe a Mardu deck that also is playing a bunch of creatures, like, you'll just pick the Abzan mode so that your creatures grow and outscale theirs. So I definitely see these enchantments being crazy versatile, and both of their modes actually being chosen based on the game state and your opponent, and that's something that the other enchantments, the original monocolored ones, were missing. There was always a mode, like I said before, I'm just repeating myself, but yeah, there was one mode you always chose, or at least like 95% of the time you chose it. This one, it actually seems like it might be up in the air, but I could see you playing this in an Abzan deck and just always picking the counter one. Like, maybe you don't ever care about killing their stuff. You have good enough removal that you don't need them to sacrifice one creature a turn. I don't know.
I don't know. I like your point about how how these two different modes play with each other really well. Like, the Abzan one's going to, in a big board stall, will beat the board stall. In a game where everyone's, your opponent has one or two big threats and you want to whittle them down, you pick Mardu and get rid of them that way. No, I think that it is going to be modally relevant. The other sieges, the Monastery Siege, I think is the blue one you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I never saw you pick the second mode.
No. Like, why would you?
Yeah, the Flame one, the whatever the heck siege that was, that you always pick the one where you reveal the top card of your library. It just always was that. But these definitely seem both relevant. I do wonder if the Mardu one, because you have to have a creature die under your control.
I wonder if at the end of your end step as well. It's not any end step.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a little too conditional to be as good as it could be. Because, like, would it be crazy if every end step each opponent? Yeah, definitely if it said each opponent sacked a creature. But maybe they just have to make it conditional so it's not too.
Well, no, each opponent does sacrifice a creature. Which
I'm saying if you get rid of the clause that says you have to kill a creature, because I can envision a lot of worlds where if you like on turn 4, if you were to play this, like, how do you make a creature die? I guess you could, like, trick them by attacking first and then getting them to block or something.
Yeah,
and then
sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I just wonder if that Mardu ability is going to be really hard to trigger each turn, and if that's going to be relevant.
I'm hoping they'll probably do sack stuff with Mardu. I'm really hoping they do something a bit more interesting with Mardu this time around, because I think in Tarkir, the first time Raid was their ability, which was just an italicized landfall style thing where it triggered on if you attacked with a creature this turn, which is also what made Mardu kind of forgettable first time around. It just, like, attacking was the condition for the decks and the cards. It's like, everyone does that every game. Like, it was just kind of silly that's what their ability was. It's the same problem with Boros that Boros has always had in all of the Ravnica sets they've made, is like, all of their abilities revolve around attacking, which you're doing anyway, but the attack triggers aren't interesting. Like Battalion, attack with three creatures instead of just, it's like, oh my god. You know what I'm saying? Like, they all felt really silly and boring and win more, but they also are hard to trigger at the same time, so it just almost felt like win less. You couldn't, like, what does Battalion do if they board wiped you? It's utterly worthless if you play a 1 Battalion creature post board wipe. Like, you feel like a fucking jackass. It just does nothing.
Battalion was objectively bad, like, because they didn't have enough haste. They didn't have enough haste creatures to, like, make it come out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there was a couple, but there wasn't a lot. So Battalion was definitely bad. Sorry to jump in on you there, but yeah.
No, that you're cleaning up what I was trying to say, basically. And it was like, Radiance. Was it with a CE in the first Ravnica? Radiance?
I think it was Radiance with the CE. That sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same problem. It's like if you have a shitload of creatures and Radiance really pops off, then it's just win more. And if you don't have a lot of creatures, then it is completely worthless. They've just never... What was the Boros ability in the most recent return? You remember?
Oh, shit. With Fresh-Faced Recruit. For some reason, I just
Mentor?
remember that card.
Oh,
yeah, Mentor.
Mentor?
Yeah, Mentor.
That was okay. That was a like a tapered down version that actually worked. If you just have a couple creatures, then it's pretty good. But again, one by itself is useless. Anyways, we're going on tangents as usual. But
one last thing about this Baron step, I do think the Mario ability would be a black hole for your opponent if like you get them down to 0 creatures.
Oh yeah,
like
you're gonna be
just the game over. Like they just never can play another creature the rest of the game. It would feel like.
That's what I'm saying. It seems really strong, but like I would put this in Teysa 100%. And it would probably be insane because I am guaranteed to trigger the Mardu ability every turn. And if I'm playing against, maybe like Ryan's Gitrog and he doesn't have, Rampaging Baloth or something, and he's just playing his mana dorks, he's trying to build up his board, like this could just halt him in his tracks. But then later, when I have a huge board state and I want to start scaling up, then I play this for Abzan. So like this in Teysa is going to be really, really, really strong. I think.
Yeah, I could see it. It could be. Definitely. I do think
Both
Teysa
ways.
sometimes does. Teysa does like extra stupid stuff that is even ahead of this.
Should be beyond this.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. I'm sure if I look through my list again, and I probably won't be able to find a card that is like just worse than this.
Well, it'd definitely be worth trying because it is doing that removal side and buff side like we talked about. So it's probably worth trying.
It's cool.
Off the top of my head, I'm just kind of like, yeah, Teysa's. You have some nutty situations with Teysa. So, but anyway, but this card's sweet. I agree. These sieges, if they keep coming out with what are the other? I guess it's every enemy color pair will have a siege probably. That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, 5 of them, and then so does that mean we'll see multiple? We're gonna have to see multiple Abzan or Mardu options, right?
Yeah, you should get a Boros one and an Orzhov one.
Yeah,
because
then
Simic one
the
and a Izzet
Boros one. Yeah, the Boros one would be Jeskai or Mardu again. Okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah, this one, Baron Step is it says Abzan or Mardu, so obviously,
right?
Pretty cool.
Nice. How should we do this? Like, what we like rate the card when we're done talking about it? See what I don't know. Just move on.
Yeah, just
unceremoniously go next.
Just move on. Put a number to it. I feel like I don't know how to do that really.
I give it a L out of 5.
There you go.
Oof. Take the L, Baron Step. You fucking suck, dude.
Now on my list, I have this next card called Baron Step Siege. Because I didn't sort by different art types, so it's just different. It's just different cool art where they're planning a battle there, But anyway, that was a weak joke. My apologies.
That's I didn't. Yeah, it didn't land because I didn't see that.
Kyle can't read, so that's tough.
Anyways, yeah, next card. Someone go read it. Volunteers, class.
I'll go. It is nice. Baator, Ancestor's Voice. He is 2 generic, a white, a black, and a green.
Wait, what the hell are we talking about?
Wait, what are you looking at?
I don't know what he's looking.
What do you? I might be looking at the commander one. Do you guys have the?
Oh my god!
I have Inevitable Defeat as the next.
Yeah, Inevitable Defeat.
Inevitable Defeat.
Click that.
One colorless.
I just posted it in the Discord. Open that shit up.
So this is Inevitable Defeat. One colorless, red, white, black, or one colorless and a Mardu. It's an instant. The spell cannot be countered. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller loses 3, and you gain 3.
Oh, baby.
I like this, but how does this stack up to Void Ren? A card that's like...
What is that?
That is... oh, fuck. What are the 3-color combination? But it's a instant, destroy target, permanent, non-land permanent. This spell can't be countered.
Ooh.
White... It might be an Esper? White, blue, black? Yeah, white, blue, black.
Esper.
So that's what I think of when I see this card. The big difference is exile versus destroy. And this comes with a lightning helix. That's what it is.
Yeah. I think this card is insane. I think this is going to be a standard staple
Interesting.
It's dude. It's okay. It can't be countered, which means it's non-interactable. You exile the thing, which means it gets rid of any death triggers. They're never getting this thing back if there's any kind of reanimation. Nothing. It's the creature's gone, and it gives you a 6-point life swing. It gives you huge reach, especially in Mardu, which we've talked about. It's just like creatures attack kind of deck. Like, this is the exact type of spell that just makes decks insanely, insanely strong.
I don't know.
It's an answer that's non-interactable that gives you reach and helps you end the game. It's crazy.
I don't know about this standard format at all, but I remember pretty vividly that Utter End was a standard card that was played, and that was is 2 and a white and a black, so just the Orzhov, and just exile non-land permanent. That was all it did, and that was played in like Esper control decks. You know what I mean? This card is for an additional red mana instead of a generic. You get not countered and a 6-point life swing like you're talking about. So it seems like quite the upgrade. So as long as standard isn't like a crazy speedier format than it was back in like the Esper Dragon days, I feel like this is definitely playable for sure. And we'll see standard play. So yeah, it's pretty good.
So the only reason I bring it up is because I played when Void Rend was standard legal and it was not seeing a lot of play. So that's why I was asking, because this is, and 3 and 4 mana, that's a big difference, you know?
Yeah.
It's not quite 1 and 2, but you know, that is significant. And I do think the Lightning Helix is not inconsequential, like, especially if you're, it kind of is good. It's like it's a hedging against, if you have to target something small in an aggro format, like a 2/2, it's like at least you have a life swing. But I think this will be good, but that's my only like pause is like, and I don't know what that color combination wants to be doing at 3 and 4. Does it want to be stopping and holding up 4 mana? And I'm coming at this from a standard position now. Talking about freaking EDH, of course, this thing's nuts. Like, go put that in any Mardu deck. Why not? But I'm thinking, like, in a constructed deck, what does this, like, Esper almost makes sense that you'd hold up 3 mana, but does Mardu want to be sitting around holding up 4 mana? Like, or is this supposed to be like...
No, I mean, you just, you remove a blocker, hit them for 3, gain 3, and then swing in further. I think this is like
Okay, yeah, I see. This is a good mid-range.
like main phase 1...
Yeah, it's a good point.
No,
this is actually aggressive too. Like, this is like this is like a burn spell almost. A
I didn't think of
plus
that.
Burn spell. It's like really, okay, never mind. This card actually might be really.
That's an interesting perspective. So you see it as like a way to cut through and keep aggression going, rather than like a, what I'm going to hold this and like kind of be defensive about it.
Well, it can kind of do both. But kind of.
I mean, obviously,
yeah, that's the thing. It will be versatile. It is expensive for that, right, Taylor? So you're totally right that. No, you're not going to be wanting to hold up 4 mana in a Mardu deck. But if you've played a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and they finally, it's turn 4, they stabilize, they slam some big, effective creature, like a card we're going to read later that's a 4/5, right? Like, they finally play that, and you go, nope, your stabilizing creature is now gone. You cannot stop this. I've hurt you again before even attacking, and now I'm swinging again. Like, I think this is just going to be good on curve if you play creatures before it. And even on turn 5 or 6 or 7, when you can do this and something else.
It's kind of hard to imagine where this isn't a good play, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, we're obviously so early into the set. I have no idea what, maybe there's going to be some bomb-ass 4-drop creature that
and maybe
would never play this
and
over.
And like maybe spell slinging is the key to victory, that like this wouldn't stop a deck going off that way, but except it's slowed down. No, I like this. The more we talk about it, the more I'm up on it. I don't have much more to say other than like this is the kind of remove a spell that you feel good casting, because you impact the board and you can hit anything. So this, if you're talking like a best of 3 deck, like this feels like if it's not in the main 60, it'd be an easy sideboard, because like any big enchantment deck, something that might like need Portal Phyrexia or Omniscience. Like,
the fact that this says non-land permanent too, this card really is crazy. I think this card in a Mardu deck, a more like aggro leaning mid-range kind of Mardu deck, this is for sure like 2 main board, I would guess. and then you side it out if they're, if maybe it's a mirror match or, I don't know. Obviously, I am so far removed from Standard. I have not played Standard since fucking Kaladesh like 10 years ago. So
the only other
you're
thing,
the Standard guy.
yeah,
but
I would actually going to say is like, I don't know what the mana is going to look like for this set. I don't think I've seen what the land cycle is. The current lands right now are really powerful because they have that new cycle that's like, taps for a forest, but if you have a plains, it also taps for a white. It's gonna. I think the whole cycle, close to the whole cycle, is gonna be done. But I don't know if there's a lot of there's not any like 3-color lands, and I'm curious if we're gonna get some mana fixing beyond. Like, I'm very interested to see what the mana looks like because I think that's going to be the big factor in its power. Because having one of each color open is that is a cost, but and the last time, like I compared to Void Red is in the one of the best mana formats out there. They had a Fabled Passage, and the Triomes were also in the same playable format. So like, mana was crazy during that time. Mana now is good, but I think really good in 2 colors. 3, and your control of what colors you have access to early is less open.
I'm sure there will be good mana. Mana in the original Tarkir was great. The mana in the original Shards of Alara was really good.
To be fair, didn't the original Tarkir had literal fetch lands in it?
Yeah, it had fetches.
yeah, but it had the tapped tricolor lands, and
they had insane lands in the original Tarkir. It probably won't be as high as that, but every time they brought a 3-color cycle around, mana has felt decent. So I'm not too just musings.
Yeah, they printed the Shard Triome, or not the Shard. Yes, the Shard Triomes in New Capenna. Then they printed the Enemy Triomes in Ikoria. And I think New Capenna was the last 3-color set we had, right? So yes. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar with this one, print a new... Maybe they aren't Triomes, but maybe they have an additional ability on there.
And let me tell you, if they have the land, if they do that and they have the land types, that makes those lands I was talking about early game way better because you're going to have access to. Because they'll all have the land types.
That might be too good.
Yeah, that's what I'm almost worried about.
I wouldn't be surprised if they reprint Enemy Triomes. They haven't made them since Ikoria, and cycling is such a generically good ability that like they could print that in the set and it would probably
they do now, by the way. Well, with that printing, they've now made cycling a whenever they feel like it. They don't have to they can just one-off cycles.
Right, yes.
If they redid the Triomes, would they have to rename them? Or because don't they have like isn't one Xander's Lounge? Like they couldn't throw that.
Yes.
So but no, that is
that's for Capenna, but like what's the Ketria would be like the teamer one, I think. So
as long as they're not called because they are called Triomes, so which was a like very unique to Ikoria, so they would probably rename them. So they could even make them like morph creatures if they wanted or whatever.
Like I said, I would guess they make Triomes again, but they don't. I don't think they would put the basic land types on them because, like you said, they just printed those the dual lands that tap for the other color if you control the thing, the basic land type. So I think that would make mana probably too good. I'm guessing they will print a land that taps for the 3 colors. It does not have basic types. It's just a non-basic land, but it will have some condition that lets you play it untapped. Like it'll be, discard a card and lose 2 life, or, it enters tapped unless you do X, Y, or Z thing. That's what I would bet the new 3-color lands will look like.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't have anything else to add. It's cool.
Yeah. Inevitable Feat. Good card.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. All right, Carver. Next one.
All right, now I'm on pace. So then this next one is Mox Jasper for 0 mana. It's a legendary artifact, and it taps for add 1 mana of any color. Activate only if you control a dragon. This is going to be good in dragon decks. So obviously, like for dragon EDH decks, I don't know how many low-cost dragons or dragons that are going to be in this set to make it like a standard relevant card, but I'm sure this is going to be a highly sought-after card for EDH purposes. I do want to say I think this is definitely one of the more controlled Moxes. Yeah. Like even Mox Amber, I feel like was like maybe they thought that was going to be a good throttle to do the legendary clause, but then that card obviously is amazing and really good in EDH.
Yep.
So But the dragon narrowing all the way to dragon, I think, is us at least gonna throttle this card's ultimate playability. But it's good. So
this is the only balanced, if not bad, Mox.
Yeah,
I think this Mox is fucking terrible. I think it'll be expensive in like when it's legal, because of course there's going to be dragons around and it's a 0 mana thing that taps for mana. It's going to be expensive at the time, but I think when it rotates out of standard, what is it, 5 fucking years from now or however long it takes, I don't think anybody, you can't play this. You literally can't play this unless you play dragons or like shapeshifters in EDH, and there's not that many.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ooh, this would have been very interesting. This was in the set with Kaldheim where they had changelings. I never even thought about changelings. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragon Generals...
shapeshifters, I meant changelings.
Dragon Generals are popular, so, I mean, this would go in any Dragon General deck instantly. So, I feel like it's going to see play, and so I don't know that it's going to be like a $1 card, you know what I mean? I feel like it's...
No, definitely not.
This is the cards you are going to be so happy to open because you just opened a lot of money, not because you get this card. Because Dragon is like got to be the most popular tribe.
Yeah, it's one of them. For sure.
No, it's like elves or spirits.
Sure, but I mean,
but
like,
dragons are up there, definitely. Dragons
yeah, they are. You're right.
At least even supported by WotC. It's as popular as the most popular.
I think if you open this card, sell it when it's legal and standard. Yeah. If it even makes an impact, right? Like it could, there could just be no great dragons, and they don't. Nobody really has a home for this card. But I'm betting there's going to be a lot of cool dragons. And this card will be really good and pretty expensive when standard is legal, but I think when it rotates into legacy formats or whatever you call them, eternal formats? Is that what you call them?
I think they're called formats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a...
You can't call them non-rotating formats anymore.
Right.
I don't think there's like a vintage or legacy or modern deck that plays like a really inexpensive dragon. Maybe there is.
So this is my only thought to add to this conversation is that I never underestimate Magic players' ability to abuse a 0 mana artifact spell.
Yeah.
So to me, if this is good, I think it would be in spite of its text, not because of it.
It can only activate if you control a dragon. That's so narrow
and
compared to
I do think that
like Mox Amber, which required a legendary, right?
You're right.
You thought, okay, in standard, there's not that many legendaries, but that's literally what EDH is. You play around a legendary card, you always have access to one, so it's always going to be good.
So now, what if they print Llanowar Dragon? 1 red mana, it's a 1/1 dragon tap, add 1 red 2 mana pool, right? So
there's ways to give types to stuff. I know there's there's cards,
and with standards lasting 3 years, you never know. So I think that it is based on current day knowledge. I think it is silly to look at this and be like, oh, this thing is nuts. It's going everywhere. I think it's smart to be like, you can never trust a Mox and shit like that. But I think right now, like, there's just not enough support for this to make sense in a playable. It might be a gimmicky thing, but like playing this fairly seems bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You guys
good.
One thing I was thinking about when I know we're looking at a spoiler and not here to theory craft or do the other podcast type where we make changes, but like, what if this card was like activate, add 1 mana of any color, but instead of the dragon clause, it says activate if you control a creature CMC 4 or greater. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like
that would be still crazy good.
You think that'd be crazy good? Okay.
Crazy good.
I like that, and I think it would make it a better card, but I think it is a much better Mox when it's written this way, and I think I'd rather them be underpowering their 0 mana rocks than making it a little pushed. So I think you're right that like they could have. That is actually an interesting one that I think they leave it open for. But finally, they have a Mox that I don't like. My stomach doesn't get into knots of being like, oh god, I don't want to look at this for the next. It's not the One Ring, all right. That's all I'm kind of like.
It just feels so narrow. Like maybe I don't understand how. The set is called Dragonstorm, so maybe there's gonna be like 1 million dragons or whatever, but it just feels so narrow that it's like.
I mean, yeah, this feels. But
I get what you're saying. I know. We had our off. We got off another time about how you don't like free spells, so I can understand your apprehension. But
but for me, I think that the Moxes have always been a reflection of the place they were built on, like, so it makes sense that the dragon plane gets the dragon one, because you think about the Metalcraft one. What plane was that one? You think about the legendary one, that was Dominaria. So it's like, I feel like they have to put in kind of a lever that is so iconic that they'd have to call out dragon specifically. Otherwise, it feels like it would be, I don't know, it just would feel wrong. It would be not the flavor that they built. So I think they kind of pigeonholed themselves into it'd have to be dragon or nothing at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think about how this is on theme, I guess, until
because if you look at all the boxes,
like I said, it's going to be good. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be played in its current or when the set releases. I'm predicting that now.
Yeah,
confidently.
There are a lot of S's revealed in this set so far.
A lot of what? Oh, S's, yeah. S. All right. I don't have much else to say about.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm good.
The box.
Move on.
All right. Next card. The new Narset, of course. Narset Jeskai Waymaster. She is just Jeskai colors: 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white. She's a 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. This card is gonna be. It's gonna. I don't know. I think it's gonna be. Of course, it's gonna be fucking insane in EDH. I think it. I don't know. I gotta think about this card a little bit.
I don't like this card in a standard legal set because it reads too much. Like, you build your entire deck around this, and like, I don't know what standard deck does. I can't. I don't have anything to add because I just don't get it. I don't know what.
First of all, it is a May ability, which means you don't really have to build around this at all. It's going to be a 3-mana 3/4, and then if you're going to have a deck full of cantrips. You're going to be casting a bunch of spells every turn, triggering prowess or whatever the new prowess is going to be, because I'm sure they're going to fucking bring that back. Or it's going to be really decent when your hand is kind of small. Maybe you're in top deck mode and you draw a card and you cast the spell. Then at the end of your turn, you discard no hand and draw 1 because you cast 1 spell. It's going to be a kind of draw 1 every turn or draw 2. But then there's probably huge turns where you play 6 spells. And then dump shitty stuff you don't want at the end of the turn and refill your hand. Like, this card's going to be interesting. I bet it. I would be surprised, or wouldn't be surprised, if it did not see standard play. But surely it's in the 99 of some Jeskai EDH decks and probably gets built around as a general. The once per turn at the beginning of your end step thing is going to suck, and it also is before your cleanup phase, so if you do draw 15 cards, you're still going to have to discard down to 7. So this card's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know how exactly I feel like. I do like that this is a Jeskai general that, like, and it feels very stormy, but like this Narset seems to, like, if you play to the board, let's say, like just play a bunch of creatures, you can still discard your hand and then draw a bunch of cards. Like so you could be like up on cards, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I played a bunch of 2/3s, 2/3, played a bunch of little flyers, whatever. So it's interesting that like the ability reads like a storm ability, but I don't think it really is. I think it's like just the more spells you cast, the more cards you get. So it's really
a really good way to put it.
It's really interesting. I'm trying to see if I think it's bad though, because I feel like, I don't know, like, how many spells are you casting in a turn realistically? Like, are you, like, even if you cast 2 spells or 3 spells and you draw 3, you do use your ability, discard your hand, draw 3, and then draw 1 more for your turn, what if 2 of those are lands? Like, I don't know. I just wonder if you're going to get behind really quickly with it. But I don't know. It's I don't hate it. I think it's interesting, and I like that in Jeskai, this isn't like a pure spell slinger prowess type thing. Because you almost don't even necessarily want to play cantrips with it, because what does that really get you? It's just getting you more cards later. Yeah. Like it makes sense to like get the velocity of like playing into the board, and then like, okay, now I have no cards in my hand. Okay, discard my hand, draw 5. Like, that feels really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this card exactly yet.
So
I'm gonna ponder it more.
So this card to me, let's think about this real quick. Let's actually break down how you would play this card. So you brought up a few points I want to talk about. Let's say you put this in a more aggressive Jeskai like prowess shell, right? Like they like the Jeskai control deck you had, right? With wind scouts or wind riders and whatever.
Yep.
How would this card fit into a deck like that? Into your old deck?
Into like an old Jeskai deck? I'm not sure how good it would fit necessarily. That's why I feel like this is like an EDH deck, and you play it with like a bunch of 1 and 2 drop creatures, then you get to play into the board, discard your hand of 1 or 0 cards, and then draw a bunch of cards. Like I feel like I don't know. Maybe I don't understand. Maybe I'm not seeing the card the right way. I just don't think. I think this isn't really like a prowess card. I think it's like at least that's not where I'm envisioning it. That's not where I'm envisioning its best state.
Yeah, because if you put this in an aggro... no, you wouldn't put this in an aggro shell. You just couldn't, because you're going to be dumping your hand and probably have no cards by the time this chick does anything. This is going to be in a tempo kind of mid-range control deck, right? So you play this on turn 3. Turn 4, maybe you have 4 or 5 cards in hand. You play a 2-drop and another 2-drop, and then you're at like 3 cards left, and you would discard 3 to draw 2, and that's like really bad. Maybe this card sucks. Draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. It does go crazy. Like, if you have a lot of spells to cast, the downside of casting the cards is that you no longer can cast them anymore, and this makes up that downside. So you play her turn 3, and turn 4, you play a 1-drop and a 2-drop and another 1-drop, and then you're at 2 or 1 card in hand. You discard that and draw 3. Could be really cool to plan something out like that. Let's say this is turn 6, and she's in play, and you have 3 cards in hand, and you just play all 3, and then discard 0 and draw 3.
Yeah, I like that. I think later game, maybe.
I think that's where she becomes good.
Yeah.
She's going to be a control-y, late game, mid-rangey, probably kind of card.
Yeah, like if a lot of your deck is 3 and 4 mana, and a lot of the time, and 2, 3, 4 mana, and then you're playing like turn 7, turn 8, 3 spells a turn, and they're all basically what you draw from her and off the top of your deck. Yeah, that seems like that'd be pretty strong. Like every turn you're doing 3 cool things or something. But that still is like, what if you draw a bunch of lands and you kind of stall with her? I don't know. Like I'm having a hard. I guess you could always just not use her ability too. So if you end up drawing,
that's what I'm saying.
If you end up drawing good cards, you could just like not do it. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about her. Exactly.
Because I could also see a world where you are playing a more aggressive shell, and suddenly all of your lightning bolt kind of burnout removal spells turn into new cards. You have you play her, you only have 2 or 3 cards left in hand. You have some kind of lightning bolt effect, and then maybe like a little cantrip draw spell, and then you play that little creature, and you played 3 spells, and it's only turn 4, and you get to redraw your hand, but you're still in an aggressive kind of deck.
Yeah, then they remove her before you go to your end step, and you just sob. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't. Bad card analysts here. I don't know how to figure this card out.
That's why we're the best people to talk about spoilers, because
we don't know shit. Like, in an aggressive shell, aren't you just empty-handed by the time Narset is able to do anything? She is a 3-drop, so that is kind of fast. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh. I don't know either.
I've been playing Magic long enough to know that whatever I think this card's abilities are, it's the opposite of the truth.
Yep. Probably no.
So this is when I read her, this is like, my brain is like, I can't envision the amount of words on this card make her bad. Like, there's just no way that she's just actively bad, because it's optional in this color combination with an aggressive stat line. Like, I can't imagine in a deck in which she's part of the 99, like, this is a bad, like, you can draw. I can't imagine she's bad. I'm sure there are a lot of scenarios that she underperforms, but I just have a hard time imagining it, like, with this text box, that she just isn't on average a positive. Like, if you play rate or win rate when drawn, it's got to be above 50% in my mind with the card. And
even as a top deck, she's a draw
exactly.
one.
Like I don't know. It feels.
But
I don't know, man. I might want to make this into a general. I'm getting more inspired by it, or at least explore it.
And that's what I was talking about. Like this one to me feels like an inspiration to like launch an entire deck build around, more than a card that's like.
But why would you want to build this? What's your plan to win the game to capitalize on her?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Exactly, like how are you capitalizing on all the spells you're casting? You would need to like, I mean, so generally, right in EDH, let's talk about this from the EDH standpoint. Generally, you need to either have a general that gets you up on cards, gets you up on mana, or like makes a bunch of creatures or something like that, which is effectively cards. And this card like can get you up on cards. You just have to work for it. But there's like cards that I'm thinking about, like Flickering Ward, Mark of Fury, cards that like return at your end step or when you want, and you can cast them however many times you want to or can. And then you can like, some of those are like permanents in play. This works well with like Escape. This works well with like Sentinelize or other type cards like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Flashback is going to be really good.
Yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, Narset could be a really like cool build around general. But then to your point, yeah, what do you end up doing with all that prowessing or like all the extra spells you're casting? Do you just make it a storm deck? Like what? And you never know.
But then
I don't know.
But you're drawing cards at the end of the turn, so you're doing these like huge storm turns your next turn because you cast a bunch of shit to trigger her a bunch, but then you don't get any immediate reward from her. You have to wait till your end step. Then you refill your hand, and then the next turn you kind of do it again. So you just like hopefully you basically just have a full hand every single turn is kind of the way she would play. That seems like just kind of boring.
Yeah, and the cards that I described, like, the one specifically, the Sentinel Eyes, the Flickering Ward, the Mark of Fury, all those cards are like one thing that's a little bit, let's say, well, it is boring what you said. It's like not interesting is when you're casting the same spell over and over again.
Yeah,
it doesn't always feel the most interesting or fun, and so I wonder if that's like the way to abuse her the most, and like those type effects, and then maybe that's not, the best gameplay pattern, but. I know. One other thing I will say is I do think that in general, when I see generals that have like at the beginning of combat, at the beginning of your end step, at your upkeep, it always feels like those cards are very disruptible. And so unless they have some type of protection or whatever built into the card itself, or you really like work to protect it, it feels like this could get absolutely obliterated when your opponent kills it before your end step, and then it's like, okay, your big turn just fizzled, and now you have no cards in your hand, and it's you're totally neutered. Yeah, I don't know, but
she goes in the 99 in a spell slinger copy deck because you copy the spells and then you cast the copies. That kind of stuff makes her really, really strong. Flashback and repeatable casting makes her good too. I think something like Sentinel Eyes or using Escape is probably too slow and incremental. You'd want to put her, like I said, in the 99 of a deck that clones spells and plays a bunch of copies of stuff. And so, you play one card, it gets copied once or twice, and now you're drawing 3 from this Narset, right? So that's where I would see her good as part of the 99 in a Spellslinger copy deck, and she just kind of is another mode of card advantage. But as a build-around card, I don't think I see her as a general. She's crazy boring. You've also made generals like this before, and you end up taking them apart because you realize you see like your whole deck every single time you play her, and that gets boring to you.
Yeah,
it takes out a lot of the variance if you're just playing a shitload of cantrips and tempo-y kind of repeatable casting cards, and then you draw 7, 8, 9, 10 cards every turn. Like, you're going to be seeing the same 50 cards every game, and you're going to get bored. You personally, I'm talking about you.
No, I get it. I knew
it.
Yeah. Hey, quit attacking me, bro. Jeez. No, I totally understand what you're saying.
I'm assessing you building her as a deck, like being inspired and then building her and realizing like, well, the gameplay patterns are kind of boring. I'm also drawing a bunch of cards every game and I'm seeing the same stuff and I'm devolving into the same combos that I cast every game. That's why you took apart your
Calamax.
What's the elemental guy?
Calamax. Oh, wait.
Him too.
Well, no. Calamax because it felt like I was doing the same thing every game eventually because it was just a storm deck. And then the other one was Omnath, Locust of the Royal. But that was because I felt like that deck had an additional problem, which was the best thing to do is just get a bunch of lands into play and make your stuff huge and draw a bunch of cards. So it just like you just played a bunch of those effects. Like you played 40, I played like 45 or 48 lands or something like that, and then like maybe 15 more cards that got lands into play. So the whole deck was just like putting lands into play, which is like
putting lands into play, shuffling, drawing, repeating until you win,
which was super boring. And maybe in the end, and then maybe Narset is kind of in that same ilk of deck. So yeah, I probably have a type that just guides me, an archetype that guides me to that type of stuff, and I need to Narset Jeskai Waymaster. I need to not follow that Waymaster. You know what I mean? I need to...
don't go that way, Master.
All right, I hate her. She sucks.
Go the other way.
I don't like her at all.
All right, we all hate her. She sucks ass. Taylor hasn't had the opportunity to speak.
No, I don't really have.
Yeah.
I at this point, you guys are getting to the nitty gritties of that stuff, and like you know me, I don't have that kind of level of kind of thought process about
he's not mentally there.
What I say for cards like this is that I think they're too complex and intricate to be able to read and understand how good or bad they are.
Sure.
And at this point, I've accepted them. Like, I would need to see this played. My feeling is that this is a little bit better than I think it is, but until I see it in motion, I don't think anyone could get a good sense of it, because this card only is as good as the tools around it.
Right, which is why when me and Carver just talked about it within the context of the EDH, we got a better handle on this card probably not being super great.
Yeah, so
it's just too slow. There's too many cards that are like, when you draw a card, draw two instead, and that's just going to be infinitely better than this card.
Yeah,
like they're just going to be way, way, way better.
And I think it might edge out some random card in the 99. It might be better than some other 3-mana creature. But I just don't think it's a marginally big enough game to be like excited about, or like, it'll see play in some decks, right? Like, it's not like bad enough to be like, oh, I won't put it in a deck, but it's nothing that you're like, where's my Narset Jeskai War Waymaster? That's what I'm missing.
I can't win without her.
Right. It's kind of like, oh, I could use this in my Jeskai Spellslinger deck. That might be fun to mess around with, that kind of thing. And I like more of those types of cards because I find that you'll have a cool game where this card fucking pops off and you'll remember it, but in most games she'll just be another piece of your deck. It's just really special.
Yeah, she's like too narrow to be abusable and too slow to be abusable and too disruptible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm done. I'm not
but she's hot.
Oh,
what? What?
She's like fucking 60 years old.
Yeah, dude. Age is just a number that I respect very much.
I was being ageist. Sorry.
Speaking of hot women, can we talk about Sarkhan, Dragon Ascendant?
Wait, are we not?
No, because we have a card to do first. Rally the Monastery.
Oh, interesting. This doesn't have Rally the Monastery on here.
Weird.
I linked the thing. Just open the link.
Open mine. I have to
sword.
do it. What?
Who's next? I think Taylor
Rally
is.
the Monastery? Okay. 4 mana, 3 colorless and a white. Instant. This spell costs 2 colorless less to cast. Cast another spell this turn. Spell prowess? Question mark. Alright, choose one. Create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. So that answers is prowess coming back.
Yep.
Option 2, up to 2 target creatures you control each get +2/+2 until end of turn. Or option 3, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater.
Good card, I think.
Yes.
Seems like just a limited card.
I think on turn 3, playing a 1-drop. By the way, this does not say another instant or sorcery. This is any spell. So you play a 1-drop creature and follow it up with Rally the Monastery on 2. If it's a hasty creature, like you could go turn 1, hasty creature, turn 2, something else, turn 3, little hasty creature, attack. Depending on blocks or whatever, you follow up with Rally the Monastery to either pump your shit or destroy something big that they may have played, or at the end of the turn, you play this to make your board bigger. I think this card's like really, really, really good. Am I crazy?
No, I think it's good too. I mean, I agree that like I think with Taylor's maybe initial assessment that like it's a limited card mostly. I don't know that this card is like I don't feel maybe you were thinking for standard, Kyle. I don't
I am.
Okay, well
okay.
Maybe,
let me put this
I don't know.
caveat out
I guess
there.
if you had 4 of these, and you had
I don't want to ever talk about limited. Every fucking card is good in limited. I hate seeing that stupid fucking comment. Every time a card is spoiled on Reddit and I want to get like a general vibe of what people think about it, I'm like, gonna have to scroll through the top 15 comments of people saying, this is a bomb in limited.
And
whoa, limited's gonna be changed forever because it's
that's a good point, because me saying it's a limited card is me saying that it's a nothing burger. That it's just a fine card that I don't feel anything about it. So my general consensus is you're probably right. It's probably fine. I don't think it's that good. But I'm dog shit at reading spells and like getting it. This feels too complicated for me to be able to read it once and be like, I think this would be good in this type of thing or a scenario.
This is actually crazy on turn 2 with Mox Jasper. If a Jeskai Dragon deck ends up being good, you can go like turn 1 hasty card, turn 2 Mox Jasper into Rally the Monastery on 2 and get 2 1/1 prowess guys, and then turn 3 you play like 2 different spells and swing with for 10, you know, like
there's a really strong mono red deck right now with Heartfire Hero or whatever that stupid mouse is from Bloomborough, that when it dies it deals its power, but it gets +1. So there's already a really powerful, like with Monstrous Rage and stuff, these low cost aggressive decks. This card would be insane in that, because almost always it'll be a 2 mana 4 damage, or creating a bunch of dudes at scale with your spells you're already casting, killing the walls that they put out in place that you can't get through. So I think this could be really strong if those red decks could splash white, and you know the mice deck was already a red white deck anyway. I could see this.
And like,
yeah.
Let's talk about worst case scenario. Let's say you can't play a spell before Rally the Monastery. All of these effects at 4 mana are not ideal, but it's so versatile, you will always be able to do something. There will be a turn where you can't quite eke out the cost reduction, and you just kind of pass, and then at the end of their turn, if they don't do anything, you go, okay, tap out and play Rally, play my 2 1/1 monks with prowess, and then on your follow-up turn, your board has gotten bigger. 2 1/1 prowesses is really good. Like, that's what Monastery Swift Spear was. Obviously, that's a totally different card because it has haste and it's a 1/2. But, like, prowess is crazy. And getting 2 prowess creatures in play, really strong. The 2 creatures getting +2/+2 is not going to be super good. But
I don't know.
It is really strong. And it plays with itself really well. Like, if you get your 2 prowess monks out with your first Rally the Monastery, then the second one gives them +3/+3 each.
Hey, Kyle, do you think that's why it has to say creatures you control get +2/+2? So it doesn't play too well with itself? Because you could, like, target one of your opponents and one of your creatures, scale yours up, and then on the second Rally the Monastery.
Thought.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not a real combo, but I was like,
no, they've just sort of changed the language of Magic cards now to target your stuff and your opponent's stuff separately. That's why Vines of Vastwood was so unique, because if that card was printed now, it would definitely say target creature you control.
Yeah, it would never say
is
target creature.
hexproof. Right.
Crazy.
So that was just a byproduct of like old wording, and
fair enough.
They've cleaned that stuff up now. This is just kind of standard templating.
No, when I think
this card is just cool.
Yeah, when I think about standard, the more I think about it, I think this card is really, really good for all the points you talked about. Yeah, like turn 1, 1-drop, turn 2, 2-drop, turn 3, 1-drop this, turn 4, this on the prowess guys, like just for +2/+2 is really good. Or turn 5, play a 1-drop and then 2 of these. Like this card this card is, it actually might be like a really good top end card for an aggro deck. And then that last destroy target creature power 4 or greater.
Crazy.
Definitely. It like fits like the whole. It feels almost similar to Baron Step Siege, where like the abilities kind of complement each other in a way. I don't know. This card seems really, the more I think about it for the purpose of standard, when you get to play 4 of these, of course, there might be weird situations where, or like when you peter out and then you have, you end up with one of these in your hand, playing 4 mana to make 2/1/1 prowesses doesn't feel awesome at that point, but
No.
But I don't know, if you're playing an aggro deck, you probably have a board state, so at that point, 4 mana to give +2/+2. I mean, I remember there have been other, like, 3 mana give 2 creatures +2/+2s. I'm not sure they saw standard, but that's not like it's not an unheard of spread, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel that out of line, so yeah, the more I think about this card, I kind of quite like it, honestly, for standard, you know.
Yeah, it's cool. I hope I'm not wrong, you know. Requiring another spell for this to do anything generally makes cards worse. Cards like to be entirely encompassing now. They either need to be like insanely good if they have synergy, or they need to just be good by themselves. And this one it's strong, but if you don't have the pre-spell spell, it might not be too good. I don't know. I do really like this card. I think it is good. I hope I'm not wrong and it sees play, because it sounds like it could be really... 2 mana for any of those effects is really strong.
Yes. Actually,
especially in a red-white deck that's going to lack removal, and this just like shores up that weakness where any creature that's really big and out of reach of your like lightning strikes or lightning bolts, this just takes care of that, but it can also further your... Like, it literally just does everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's
I am sweet. Trying to keep into perspective that even though most time it will be 2 mana, it is, you cannot play it on turn 2 for 2 mana.
Yeah.
And I think
I just said you can with Mox Jasper.
Okay. You're right. There is technically ways to do it. You're right. But I mean, in general, something that we say is like, oh, you think of it as a 2 mana spell because how often it will cost you 2, but it is not something that means you also have to spend 2 cards to make it 2 mana, you know? So there's some extra levers to it that make me feel less confident in its power, but I agree that what you're saying is true. I'm just trying to keep myself humble and being like, there are some qualifiers on that statement that are impactful. Yeah. So what if you're behind? I feel like this card is because making 2/1/1, I don't know. I agree that the modes are all really strong and it seemed good no matter what scenario you're in. But I do know that like you need 2 cards to make it 2 mana, and it's never 2 mana independently, which means it's at least a 3 mana card at best 99% of the time, unless you're playing Mox Jasper just to piss me off in particular. So
yeah, and there's a world where, you know, it's turn 4, but you only have 3 drops, and so this will cost less, but there's no way to capitalize on it. There's a world where they have a bunch of 2/2s and 3/3s that just make this feel worse because your 1/1 prowesses are going to kind of suck, and you can't use the destroy mode because they don't have a power 4. For sure. I understand that. But the fact that this set is going to have prowess means that the destroy creature of power 4 or greater is going to be relevant more often than not. Even the Baron Step Siege, that's putting counters on all their creatures every turn. Like, they're going to scale their creatures up, and you're going to be able to pop the one that you know, the highest value target. Yeah, this card will be cool. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't see play. I'm just getting hyped on it because I like cool cards like this. I don't know why I like this so much, but it's just a cool card.
It is.
Like, now we're talking about play this in Teysa.
Now, design-wise, I love this card, but like, if we're talking strictly, how good is it?
They did a good thing making it cost 2 mana and be an instant.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was super sorcery. You can only play it on your draw phase on turn 1.
On super sorcery. Could only play this on main phase 1.
That would be a mechanic. I would just make it so all spells have to be played on main phase 1, and then I'd be the best Magic player ever.
that sounds really good for you, Taylor. All right, who's next? Is a Carver reading the last card here?
I think so.
All right, let's hit
next
it.
Up
get it.
Is Sarkhan, Dragon Ascendant. He is a 2 CMC, 1 generic, 1 red mana, legendary creature, human druid. Sarkhan says, when Sarkhan enters, you may behold a dragon. If you do, create a treasure token. To behold a dragon, choose a dragon you control or reveal a dragon card from your hand. So you have to have a dragon in play or reveal a dragon to get the treasure when he enters. And then whenever a dragon you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarkhan. Until end of turn, Sarkhan becomes a dragon in addition to its other types and gains flying.
Before anyone talks about this card, I've been playing the Legends of Runeterra, the League card game. they have a mechanic called Behold, and it is literally this, where you have to have something. But Behold is specifically, you have to only have it in your hand, but it would call out different card types, like a Celestial card, a card that costs 8 or more. But I do think it's funny. It's the same keyword, functions almost identically to this other card game.
Yeah, they easily, because that's probably been in Legends of Druun for a long time.
Yeah,
right?
for at least 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so that's just a literal straight ripoff.
And like realistically, it's not necessarily like it could be cool. Like Behold, like they came up with that keyword independently, or they thought of that as the keyword.
They also work years ahead, so this shit was probably literally developed in 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, I certainly don't.
Like there's a world.
And honestly,
if
they stole it, like I genuinely don't think that's a bad thing. If they think it's a good mechanic and they want to make a Magic version of it, like good. You should steal mechanics from other games that are good. That's how you get
They should have made this mechanic in the Mad Max set that's coming and call it Witness.
Okay, that would be fucking sick. That just
wouldn't that be sick?
Yeah, that would be pretty sick.
It just hit me.
Witness.
Yeah.
Anyway, I read this card and I'm just like, I don't understand what piece is this just supposed to be like a
Oh, it's good.
Just like the early game play in a dragon deck. Is that kind of what it's just a grizzly bear for dragon? Like I guess that's...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you play this, you reveal your expensive dragon, he creates a treasure token to ramp you, and then in the next turn or two, you have 4 or 5 mana, and you play your 5 or 6 drop dragon. Sarkhan then leaps up with him, becomes stronger himself, and... Yeah, he certainly won't be super good.
I had to reread it.
Yeah, he's...
You behold to get a treasure token, and then when dragons enter, he just gets buffed with them. Okay, now I'm For some reason, I thought beholded... I like it. I think it's cool. This feels like a they tend to have these like 2-mana aggressive red creatures that scale amongst other things do really well. Unfortunately, this might be a card that I hate to see a lot because I can see the speed. You don't even depends on what types of dragons they print.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be super strong. Requiring a dragon to enter for him to get a counter and become flying for a turn, like if you're playing dragons, isn't a 2/2 just not super relevant anymore? Obviously, he's scaling, so he will be, but so what? You're playing 2, 3, 4 different dragons, and then he's like an actual creature, you know, being a 5/5 or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to play 3 other dragons for him to be a 5/5. And if you're playing 3 dragons, aren't you winning? Dragons are
Kyle,
huge.
Wouldn't just playing 1 dragon make this thing already better? Like, it doesn't matter how big he is. For 2 mana, and 1 dragon enters, he's a 2 mana 3/3. Or 2 mana 3/3 that gave you a
3/3 flyer. Right, yeah, and if you already have dragons in play, then he in effect costs 1 mana, and there's probably going to be treasure synergies, because treasure is just in the game, and it's everywhere.
I think this guy, like, of the cards we've read so far, I am willing to be... This is the one that'll be the strongest of all the cards we've read. That's how I feel about it.
Whoa. Psychopath.
Well, besides like inevitable defeat,
actually,
you might
be totally
right.
I could see other things, but I can see how aggressively it's costed. How even if you never buff it, 2 mana 2/2 enters, create a treasure token. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Like you don't need that second line of text for me to consider this a playable card in my mind.
Well, if you're gonna get the treasure, you're gonna probably buff it too, right?
Exactly.
So it's he's a good. This is a good card.
I see a world where you don't have a dragon in hand and you don't have one in play, and this guy feels fucking horrible.
Yeah, or if you're playing this in standard and your whole deck is built around him, and you have 4 of them in your deck or whatever, he's legendary, so like diminishing return.
He doesn't stack well.
Yeah, he doesn't stack.
I will say he's gonna be as good as the variants of dragons. Like. It's kind of like the Angel, a New Capenna. They printed angels across the CMC, or mana value spectrum, and they made angel decks way more consistent, better. So if they print,
I know there will be cheap dragons. So yes, for sure. There's going to be a 4-drop dragon that this guy scales perfectly into,
or 3. Yeah. Like I expect to see 2-cost things that either are dragons or discount other dragons. So I have a feeling if that set this is truly a Dragonstorm set, this guy's nuts. I think I'm just going on the assumption they're going to give the proper density to him. Otherwise, obviously, I agree. A 2-mana 2/2 that can't guarantee a treasure token. Yeah, that would be unplayable. A legendary Grizzly Bear, mind you, can't even play this if another one's already in play. So
yeah, you're playing this in a standard deck that has like 16 dragons. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna or more. You know, you're gonna be triggering his treasury stuff, and then he's gonna be like the early clock for dragons. It actually reminds me, as you mentioned angels, Taylor. It reminds me a lot of Giada, the like legendary one.
Yeah, the 2-mana. Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah, 1 and a white for a 2/2 flying vigilant angel legendary. Tap to add a white, but it can only be used to cast angel spells, and then whenever an angel spell is cast using that mana, you enter with a +1/+1 counter on it, I think, or something like that. Yeah,
that sounds so much better than this, but
it does. Well, oh yeah, I mean, it already has flying, already has vigilance, but like no, it just feels very similar. Like it's very tribal, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So
it's like that's actually a really interesting parallel because this kind of feels like filling a similar design space, but for the dragon support instead of angel support. And treasure kind of makes more sense with dragons. And then him turning into a dragon is very Sarkhan. So what kind of pussy doesn't stay a dragon? Like, come on, dude.
I know. How is he a human druid and not a human dragon?
What was he before? Because druid type line must have replaced a different type line, right?
He's always just been a human. I don't think he's always done this gimmick where he's not a dragon and then he becomes a dragon.
But has he always been a druid? The druid part is what's
probably
catching me. Okay.
He probably has been. That's just the generic name for like a human that spellcasts.
Or is one with nature.
So the other one that I was thinking of was Sarkhan's Soul of Flame. I know we're getting off on a tangent. That's an Izzet legendary creature. He's 1 blue and a red for a 2/4. Dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. He is a human shaman. So
shaman, they did.
Shaman.
Okay.
Shaman.
They got rid of shaman.
Yeah, shaman feels more like Sarkhan to me, but you know, and this Sarkhan has this Sarkhan.
By the way, they did remove shaman, so they're no longer going to be printing shamans. All shamans will become druids. I swear I read this unless I'm having a like fever dream. I'm almost positive they are. That's why he's a druid now. It's not because he changed as much as they just are printing less shamans.
Okay.
But I think he's cool. He's not very exciting. Like I can see what he does, and like
I don't have much else to say.
So like that's kind of my end of it. It's just like no one's going to
build. He's going to feel bad late game too.
Yeah,
he's going to feel really bad.
No one's going to be excited to make an EDH deck as this is the general. Like I don't think anyone would. But you put it in a dragon tribal deck because he synergizes with them. But he's just not very exciting.
Would you even? He's not good in a dragon deck. Like
you're right, he's not. But because the payoff is just a treasure token and a slowly scaling 2/2. Yeah, you're right. No, that's a fair point. This feels like it's a 60 card format card.
I agree.
Based on
he almost needs haste to be good even in 60 cards. I don't know. This guy strikes me as being pretty
that is weird that he doesn't have haste. Isn't that another thing that when Sarkhan turns into dragons, a lot of the time on other cards he gains haste? Like it's like the Planeswalker.
That I don't know if that's true, but I don't know enough to be confident about it. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it didn't say like when he enters, you may behold a dragon. If you do, create a treasure token, and he gains haste until end of turn. That would be cool. That would have been like way more spicy But they probably have enough like hasty 1-drop, 2-drop red cards. They didn't want to do that.
You guys are talking like a bunch of ignorant people who don't understand standard, as if they're like, "Oh, why don't they just give this guy haste?" You are fucking counting your blessings. This motherfucker doesn't have haste.
Oh my god. Okay, he's or whatever, man. I don't think he's going to see play even in standard.
Wow.
I don't think he's going to be good enough.
Wow.
Oh, I'm saying that a 2-cost aggressive creatures with haste are scary. So anytime they don't put haste on it, that is, I think, going to at least make him.
I mean, that's what I just said. Was like, I know they have a bunch of 2-drops that are hasty, so they probably didn't want to do that again, and they want this guy to be more of a. He's a dragon mid-range deck enabler. He gives you a bit of ramp, and he himself scales into a threat. So yeah, he's not an aggro kind of card, even though he's sort of like dressed like one, but he isn't. I think that's probably where my mindset is wrong as well. He's going to be in like, he's going to be in the, what fucking colors are dragons actually? Teamer? Yeah, Teamer. He's going to be in the Teamer mid-range dragon shell, and he's going to be the early drop that's kind of acceleration and a bit of scaling.
Yeah, maybe this is in the deck that's
he's not an aggro card.
Yeah, and like it's more of allowing him to scale up with his mid-range brethren attack with them rather than trying to attack on the ground quickly. So that's an interesting point. So I think we'll have to see that might be right.
I do think the play pattern of turn 2 Sarkon, you behold a 4-drop dragon, turn 3 you play the 4-drop dragon, sacking the treasure, and then attack for 3 in the air with Sarkon. Like, that's going to be a pretty good line.
And a decent number of dragons are I think, have haste at 4 mana, so I could see that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. All right, I'm going to move on and read the next one here. His name is Shiko, Paragon of the Way. 2, I guess we say generic mana. Is that the correct way now? Because colorless mana is a specific thing.
2 mana of any color. Is probably what
2 mana of any color and Jeskai, which is blue, red, white, so he's 5 mana total. He has Flying, Vigilance. I guess I didn't read his types. He's a legendary creature, Spirit Dragon. He has Flying and Vigilance. When he enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard, copy it, then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost, and he is a 4/5. So a 4/5 Flying Vigilance with a good ETB for 5 mana.
Seems like dog shit, right? Why would you ever... an aggressively costed, good keywords, good enters trigger? Yeah, that seems terrible.
4/5 Flying Vigilance is a pretty good, big, beefy kind of...
It is not an aggressive stat line, I will note, but it's also in Jeskai, so it's perfect.
Right, it's not supposed to be, yeah.
Now, the thing is, like, to actually evaluate this, you need to think about what are good 3-mana spells, and is it Instant Sorcery?
There was
non-land.
Yeah, it's a non-land.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you can play an enchantment. You can play creature.
This card's nuts. Holy.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. And on top of the fact that, like, there was that card in Carver, you'll probably remember it. It was like a 5-mana 4/4 Menace Haste or something. It was a goblin from the Return to Eldrazi set, and when there you go. Knew it. I knew you'd know it immediately. Yeah, he did something very similar. When you played him, he would copy a spell from your graveyard. He was pretty strong. I don't think he saw standard play because he doesn't fit. Like, he was just a little weird for that time.
A little too expensive. But
right, for being in a red deck. But like, I think he ended up in your cube for a while, and he was in an EDH deck or two. Like, he's pretty cool, and he can do some crazy shit. Especially if they print any kind of Lightning Helix type card, any really good removal spell. I mean, this guy's pretty versatile. If they've killed something, you slam him, get a copy of the thing they killed. If you've cast some really good high value 3 or less spells, you just get to clone it again. It's, it's like a Snapcaster thing, but you cast the thing for free. Yeah, this guy's probably just really strong. I'm surprised they limited to only entering. I figured this would be a card where it says when he enters or attacks, do this.
Yeah.
But that would be too strong, of course, doing this every single turn in a Flying Vigilant 4/5
I think
body.
if it had multiple triggers, that might be a little much.
I'm looking at this through the EDH lens. This strikes me as a card where we've talked about this before, Taylor, where they're like, and I'm sure I've talked about it with Carver too, but I meant more specifically Taylor and I had a phone conversation about this a long time ago where we were talking about Magic and how cards are now it's like standard playable, quote unquote, but it's clearly just for EDH.
Yeah.
This is my stupid point I'm making actually is that this is not like that because it only triggers on enter. It strikes me as a card they wanted to just be like a good Jeskai 5-drop that does a good thing and can be played in standard and isn't necessarily a EDH build around.
But it could be. Because I feel like
there's a lot of blink. You're totally right. There's a lot of fucking blink.
You got there. Yeah, that was just what I was going to say. Is like, I feel like for some reason my brain went to like, if you put this with momentary blink or cloud shift or ghostly flicker or any of those effects, you could get like a lot of storm or like if you have other things that have ETB triggers, you know what I mean? Like when another creature enters or whatever. Yeah, I feel like this card could just like explode if you have a lot of those blink effects. And having this, again, talking about Commander, having this in the Commander in like a command zone with a blink deck, I feel like if your opponents tap out and like let you do it, you could do some really disgusting things really quickly. And then if not, it could just be a good value play, of course. Like it's just a good. Yeah, this card seems just like super solid. Really good card. So maybe almost a little uninteresting in a way because it's just kind of just good, But yeah, I know for Commander, I'm getting a little annoyed with any flying general in Commander. So it's just like in general, like just because.
Yeah, you've had problems in the past with the flying generals.
Just because it's like
you make some cool. Yeah,
it's so damn easy. It's like that's what pissed me off about Intet, because we talked about Omnath, Locus of the Royal, that deck I had. I converted that into Intet, which I thought was going to be cooler, and for a while it was. But then I ended up just killing people with Intet, and it was just like, man, it felt so. I don't know. It seems weird
to be clear, killing us not with his ability, just because he's a huge flying dude.
Yeah. Like I just thought of something.
Yeah,
this goes really well with the Narset.
Yeah,
put stuff into your graveyard to then allow it to copy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yep.
Like if you follow Narset up with this card, and even if you just cast, like let's say you cast one flicker effect into another spell, you know what I mean, on him, that's 3 spells, boom, shakalaka, like you're drawing more cards and doing more awesome things. Yeah, no, the synergy is real there for sure.
And I've been scrolling through what 3 mana cards are legal in Standard right now.
3 or less, but
yeah. Well, I mean, because I'm not really the 0s and the 1s. Like I'm just seeing if anything like really jumps out as like something that's kind of nutty, but nothing in particular. But I just think that it's hard. It's a 2-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hard to feel bad about.
Yeah, on a huge body, a flying vigilant 4/5, like Carver said, I mean, that's easy. It's just going to end the game. You can attack every turn and still block with it. It's going to be really hard for your opponents to deal with. Like, this card is just really good.
It's my favorite card so
wow.
I don't know if it's the best, but it's the one I like the most.
It's a very pretty card. All the flowy, like, the wings being like the
Jeskai looking dragon.
Very pretty.
I forget how good the art direction. Tarkir.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which,
all right, go next.
The card that everyone saw and got excited for the set.
Yep.
Skirmish Rhino, white, black, green, or 1 Abzan for 3/4 trample. When it enters, opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. Siege Rhino at home.
Love it.
This is really good and limited.
That's really true.
I love, like, I don't know how good it is as much as, like, I think it's awesome this exists, but, like, it's hard to imagine this is not good. But, I mean, I wonder if the 1 extra, the +1/+1 and the 3/3 is kind of different.
Being playable, right? Yeah, like Siege Rhino was a huge build around standard staple.
5 health versus 4 health is a big difference. I feel like.
Yeah,
well, I don't know if Siege Rhino was. But I don't know if Siege Rhino was really a build around. It was just amazing. Like it was just a really, really good card. I have a confession. When I first saw this card, you guys were like so hyped on it, and I was like, why? Like it didn't seem like like I felt like this card like kind of I was like underwhelmed by it in a way. But what really, again, we talk about cards being good and limited and how that's like a silly thing to mention. But like when I saw this card was uncommon, I was like, oh, you're gonna see this a lot if you play limited.
Yeah.
Like and it is a good card. It's like it is a good card. But I think I posted that Rock's Warmonk from the band like just stonewalls it because I thought it was like, I don't know, it's like Siege Rhino like would crush that card, but now this card kind of gets blocked by it. But my point, I'm all over the place. But like again, what really put this card over the top for me was seeing that uncommon symbol, and I was like, oh, okay, a 3 mana 3/4 trample does the drain gain, and it's uncommon. So yeah. That's what popped to me is like this card at uncommon just seemed really good. Because when I first looked at it, I was like, this card's a rare. Like why? Like because I just zoomed over the symbol because I don't know, it evoked Siege Rhino in me so vividly that I just didn't even pay attention to it, assumed it was a rare. And then when I saw uncommon, it made me more excited for it. So this card's definitely really good.
This reminded me of the, of course, the 3-color cycle from Shards of Alara. That was one of my favorite things. I love when they do the cycles. So I think obviously this card is a precursor for each color. They're probably going to make a card like this for for each color wedge, and I'm really excited to see the others. This one is just really, really solid.
To me, this
yeah.
Why I was excited for it isn't necessarily the text, but that they are calling back to an era of Magic cards that I was excited to see. So to me, that's why I was excited to see this. Is like, we didn't forget about Siege Rhino. You guys love Siege Rhino, and here's like a, it's basically a reprint without it, and like, I don't know. It makes me think that they might capture some of the excitement. So that's why I was excited for this guy, because I agree, it's not a very exciting text box.
And also, I mean, all the cards they've shown so far and everything we've talked about, they all feel competitive and strong. This isn't one of those sets where you're like, this is a sorcery, it should be an instant. Oh, this costs 5 instead of 4. Why'd they do that? It's like, no, everything feels very fairly costed, pretty aggressive. Everything seems like it could be strong in the right shell. Yeah, Skirmish Rhino is right up there. A 3-mana 3/4 trample that drains 2 that's just really solid. And if there's any kind of blink effect, that'll be really fun. Maybe we'll go back to the Siege Rhino and Thragtusk times of Abzan colored blinky kind of decks. Yeah, Skirmish Rhino is just cool, and I'm really, really excited to see the other wedges too. I always love them. I don't know why.
Maybe they'll do what would be a tasteful callback for Mantis Rider, another. Well, it already was only 3 mana. You know what I mean? So but yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see where they land if they do call back.
They just add a
uncommon version of Mantis Rider.
They just add a colorless and give it +1/+1. Make it a rare.
Yeah, they do. They do. They invert it. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, they make it stronger.
I mean, they already did that, right, with Lightning Angel. That's like what Mantis Rider.
Holy shit!
Was.
I love Lightning Angel.
I forgot Lightning Angel just Mantis Rider. Well, that's it. That's the cycle. They just reprint Lightning.
Oh, I love Lightning Angel so
Lightning
much.
Angel is only a 3/4 though, right? She's a 3/4, not a 4/4.
Yes.
4 mana flying vigilance haste 3/4.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then Mantis Rider's almost a strictly better version. 1 less toughness for 1 less mana is pretty fucking amazing.
But Lightning Angel is so cool. Like, there's something about that card that, like, I don't know. I have a copy that there's.
You know what's funny? It's not as cringe if I had said Lava Angel. That would sound like I was a 12-year-old boy. But for some reason, Lightning Angel just sounds cooler.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
I could see them reprinting like Mantis Rider at uncommon, but giving it 2 keywords and making it a 3/2. A 3 mana 3/2 flying haste.
That would be pretty bad, right?
3 mana 3/2 flying vigil. But would that be 3 colors? It doesn't really feel Jeskai. That just feels Boros. It would have no flying. I guess is very blue, and then haste. I don't know why we're trying to postulate. It's
at the wait and see, baby. Let's wait and see.
Yeah. All right, next card, Carver, hit us.
All right, the next card is Smile at Death. It is a 5 CMC. Is that what you guys have? Smile at Death. Okay.
Yeah, I was being very funny.
I'm looking at Death and I'm smiling right now.
Yeah, idiot. I'm smiling already.
I am smiling. Yep.
5 total CMC, 3 colorless mana, and then 2 white mana. For an enchantment, it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures.
This is a Teysa card.
Why does it not say exile them if they die? Why aren't they being entered with a finality counter? What are we doing?
Yeah, they should enter with a finale.
Okay,
this card.
It's nuts.
I don't know.
And look at the Abzan enchantment.
You guys like it? This card might be a good Teysa card. I despise that. Like I'm again speaking EDH wise. I do not like that this is an enchantment that you have to wait till your next upkeep for 5 mana. It's so much mana to have to wait. Now, Teysa might specifically be able to abuse the fact you get 2 cards back and that all your cards synergize well with death and stuff. But man, I'm a little bit, I'm a little underwhelmed looking at it from an EDH perspective. You have to wait so long to get the cards back. I don't know. Maybe you guys are higher on it.
No, it is slow, but it's not a creature, so it is slightly more hard to interact with, right? If this was like we were talking about earlier, Narset, but she triggers at the beginning of the end step, but she's still like interruptible. Enchantments always feel a bit safer to me. They're harder to deal with, but
So I never think too hard about the like, it's a 5-mana enchantment that does nothing. And it's like, you're right, and that's why it's not going to be standard playable. If you're telling me that in EDH that you can't play a 5-mana enchantment without losing, then fuck your pod. I don't want to play that pod.
No, it's not that you lose. And even still, like, we play Phyrexian Arena. It's the same shit. You gotta wait until your next turn.
And think about it this way.
Carver just has a problem with how expensive it is.
Sure, but like, if you, by the time this is in play, you have your other tools that will make you able to take advantage of that entire text box. So I feel like this is the last piece you play and not the first. So in a lot of ways, this looks like the engine is at full speed ahead. And like, if you don't do something to me by the start of my next turn, like, you guys are in trouble.
Yeah.
So like,
I guess they have other.
I think that's kind of why.
I guess they have
hates
like
it,
other Return to the Ranks, Dust to Dawn. They have other like sorceries that just like in mass return power 2 or less creatures.
And then this does it every turn.
It does it every turn, but you have to wait till the next turn. I want this.
And then you get to do it for 0
why
mana.
can't this just say at your end step? Like why do you have to wait to your next upkeep? I don't feel like this card would be overpowered if it said end step. Maybe it would, but I don't know. I'm just underwhelmed by it. I just think for a 5-mana enchantment, I mean, doubling season's a 5-mana enchantment, and doubling season is ridiculous. Like this card is like,
well,
I don't know.
But doubling season doesn't do anything unless you do something else.
Well, so
right?
Doesn't this card.
Exactly my point, though. But you're saying doubling season is busted out the wall.
Well, that's because they do different things.
I know doubling season,
but I'm saying they do different things. But I'm saying like that. I'm just comparing like doubling season's off the charts powerful. I know, so maybe it's a poor comparison. But like it's
well, you can also do stuff right after doubling. What does doubling season do? Oh no,
it doubles counters. It doubles
upkeep,
counters on any permanent that comes into play or tokens you make. So it's just very versatile. Doubling season is stupid, but this card just the fact you have to wait and sit. I probably could think of a better analogy.
So what I'm trying to point out is that doubling
season even works right after you play it.
That's
anyway.
true.
No, hold on. My point being is that once you play doubling season, you need other effects for it to do anything. So it's the payoff card to your deck's engine. I think Smile at Death is a similar thing for a deck that wants to abuse entering and sacrificing weak creatures. Now, I don't think that, as we all know, the scale of powers aren't. It's like comparing Black Lotus to modern mana rocks, right? Like,
yeah,
the scales are off, but I am seeing this card in a way that's like, I think why I think it's powerful is that you pay 5 mana once and you get a reoccurring 2 targetable resurrect effect over and over and over that someone has to stop. And even killing the creatures doesn't do anything, doesn't generate your opponents any value. So I know that I will agree with you, this is aggressively slow, but it is one of those cards that I feel like this individual card will win so many games because of the nature of its recursive effect, 0 mana, and like in decks that care about it, you will have. It is bad in a vacuum. I think it is just so scary. The snowballs in such a way that is nuts.
I don't think Carver is unaware of how powerful this effect is. It's just the fact that this card, no matter what happens, you literally do nothing for a full turn after you play it. That's
we're all in agreement. I'm backing up. Like, I just think that 5 mana do nothing isn't. That's all right. You know, I will say like it. No. It's fair. Like that is. I'm trying to say that, you know what, I will pull back that this is not as good as I'm feeling it is. It's more this is the Timmy in me is like seeing how insane this is and like the effect on written, the fact that the creatures that's bringing back come back forever, like can keep coming back or being re-sacrificed, and thinking about how many creatures like just the card effects on some creatures are just so nuts.
The biggest issue too, well, so first of all, I love this card that it targets things with low power and not low converted mana cost.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That is what's going to make this crazy, because you're going to have some 5-drop that's a 2-power thing that does a really good effect, and this can bring it back. Though the targeting power is always...
Yes.
Well, I should say always,
usually,
but almost always the stronger effect. Yeah. So that will make this better, but I totally... Like, in a 4-player pod... You're telling me I gotta wait 3 fucking other players' turns before this does one thing one time? There's no way, like, 3 players aren't gonna be able to deal with this. And like Taylor's saying, everyone's gonna see the writing on the wall. Like, oh, I see your graveyard. I see what you just played. This card's gonna make you basically win the game. Like, everyone, we gotta deal with this now. So you're just never gonna get to see this effect actually happen. Because
either they're gonna exile your graveyard during one of their turns, or they're gonna just kill this enchantment. Kyle, do you think Teysa wants this? Because one of the things that's interesting to me is that like would Teysa even play? Because like you could get back Teysa with this. So like Teysa makes it like it becomes a choice for like you could put Teysa in the graveyard, and that could be an interesting little slant. Like that makes Teysa a little stickier, and then of course you have all your engine pieces. But like to me, this Teysa would be like the deck that would want this card. If any deck would want this card, does Teysa play this card?
Yes.
You think?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you could go nuts with.
I just
Teysa.
don't. I probably wouldn't just play this on turn 5.
Oh.
I'd probably play this on turn 7 or 8 when I could do something else. And I'm also like, hey, here's Smile at Death. Deal with this while I'm also going to be doing other things. Yeah. And then you're in a really shitty spot, which is more likely how it's going to be played, and that's fine. Like, yeah, most of the time you're probably going to play this and you're just trading it for someone's removal spell, which is good, because now I played Smile at Death, and maybe it's like, okay, either kill this or kill Teysa. Like, what are you going to pick? And so there even is still value in a card that just draws everyone's attention immediately. There's definitely value in that. But yeah, this is just this effect is good enough too that they probably couldn't let you do this at the end step. That feels, main phase 2, Smile at Death, and my turn. It's like everyone else is tapped out or has played their removal. The upkeep is it's such a long time. Everyone gets to a full turn to look at this thing and try to deal with it. That sucks. But if this happened at the end step, I think it might just be too good.
I get that. Yeah, I agree with you.
It would probably have to be 6 mana if it did end step,
you guys
and then
have
that feels
me,
worse.
to be clear, I'm cooled off on this, but I do think that the fact that it's power 2 or less, it makes this, I think, how do I word this, is like, it is the best version of this card they could have printed.
Yes.
I think that
you're right.
This just is so scary in a deck built around abusing this. And I think I'm thinking a lot about Standard, where you take turn 5 off and you survive. Like, that's a lot more normal. So
heads up. Oh, this is crazy good heads up.
That's kind of maybe I keep kind of forgetting how slow. Because like even kind of when I play EDH, it's usually against you. I'm so used to 1v1.
Yeah, heads up EDH as well, right?
Yeah, so it's exactly, like for me, like Commander feels like a different format than EDH in my mind. Commander's a 4-player version of EDH, which is normally 2-player. But
that's a good
I'm
way
a
to put it.
weirdo, so I have a.
Well, we've never had like enough people playing Magic consistently in the same spot to do 4-player pods all the time. It's usually like I have one friend around, or like, someone comes to visit someone else, but we didn't get a third and a fourth player to come, and then three-way EDH can feel weird. Worse because it's like it feels more kind of team up-esque, because one guy will pull ahead, and then instead of, I don't know, it's hard to articulate, but like, yeah, we've just never historically been able to play really consistent, solid 4-player pods, which are fun. They're very fun. But outside of the viability of Smile at Death and the fact that we want this to be at the end step, because of course that's the stronger version, but it would be probably too strong. Like, I love this effect. It's so cool.
Kyle, you get Sarkhan into play. And maybe get a dragon token?
Right.
Come on.
Really good point.
I don't know if you guys...
No, I mean, like, dude, imagine this. Turn 4, Baron Step Siege with the counter clause, and then turn 5, Smile at Death, and you return the 2 things, they get counters, and then Baron Step Siege triggers, they get 2 more counters. Oh, wait, no, it's upkeep end step. Whatever, I'm stupid as fuck.
Well, they come in with the counters, and then every end step they get bigger.
Right. Or you pick the Mardu version of Baron Step Siege, and then Smile at Death brings back the thing you're sacrificing every turn, but they just get to lose stuff every turn, and like, yeah, there's cool stuff. I love the power of that effect. It is surprising that they didn't say finality counter, because they board wipe me. Thank you. I will get my ETBs again, or my death triggers again. Like, yeah, this is for sure a must answer card immediately.
Yeah, maybe the Rally the Monastery aggro deck plays this in its sideboard as like a against control decks, like a gummy inevitable card.
Yeah, like a blue black deck that has very limited answers to enchantments.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I could see it.
All right, next card. I get the boring one of the bunch. We have one more card after this, and we've been talking for 2 hours. It's good. This one will be really quick. Stormplane Detainment. 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a white enchantment. When the enchantment enters, exile a non-land permanent an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. We've seen this effect a million fucking times. Nothing to say about it. It's just Oblivion.
I like that. I like that it's back at common. I like that O-Ring is back at common.
True.
So that
was going to ask. So what about this is not? Why is this not a reprint? And so is it just the rarity downshift? Is it just a rename? Like, what about this functionally is different than Oblivion?
Okay, Oblivion Ring specifically is the special one where it has 2 clauses.
Oh,
it's
when
got
it
an
enters
ETB clause
and an exit. Okay.
But they fixed that very quickly, though, because they realized... Actually, no, they didn't. They made Journey to Nowhere, which is the creature version of it for 2 mana and has the same thing. It enters and does a thing and leaves and does a thing, and it's abusable. But
okay,
this is a common Banishing Light. It's identical to Banishing Light.
Yes, it is identical to Banishing.
And so I'm just trying to be like, why did they make a Tarkir specific Oblivion Ring? And the answer is, I don't know.
They do that. They do it almost every set, actually.
Okay, it's a cool sounding name. I'm not gonna lie.
Whatever.
Stormplane Detainment is a pretty cool sounding version. So
yeah,
maybe someone came up with that name and they're like, no, we're not doing reprints. We are naming this card.
I mean, it makes me wonder what the Stormplane is. Like, is it like their purgatory or something? You know what I mean?
It fucking sucks because that's where you get detained.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, is it like some kind of jail or something? Like it's.
Bro, we fucking hate the Stormplane. Do not detain me there.
So,
I beg you.
Is this just stating that someone was detained in the Stormplane, or they are locked in the Stormplane detainment? You know what I mean?
Let's read that flavor text. Maybe it illuminates what our questions
Elspeth is on this plane?
Elspeth saw their capture as an inconvenience, costing them precious time. Narset saw it as an opportunity to recruit allies to their cause.
Okay, it sounds like Stormplane Detainment is just a jail on the Storm. Thanks, Morrow. All right, I'll take the last card. We're talking about the flavor text. That's how you know the card's bad.
Yep.
Okay. I think we saved the
big one.
The fun one for last. All right. The Storm Scale Scion, 4 mana of any color, and 2 red. For a 4/4 dragon with flying. Other dragons get +1/+1. Storm.
Nuts.
Yeah, buddy.
Nuts. This card is nuts.
Yup.
A
6-drop with Storm is unplayable, though. You can't play this. It's bad.
Right. Yeah, Dragonstorm was a bad card. How are you ever
gonna... You play this on curve, and you're just gonna get 1.
I think this is a fun Storm card, too, which is nice. Because I think a lot of Storm cards are just like... I don't know, like, I win. It's kind of fun to have, like, a giant, like, army of dragons kill you, at least, instead of, like, I don't know, Tendrils of Agony. I don't know, for some reason.
No, this card is... I am shocked to see the word Storm on
that
a
seems...
card.
On a creature!
I honestly cannot believe they brought it
and
back.
On a creature.
Yeah.
I mean, to be...
It is a lord, a dragon lord creature.
Yeah. They do have 1,000-year Storm in Standard, so I guess, like, they're not really...
Oh my god, wait. Let's think about God tier turn. Honestly, like, turn 5 Mox Jasper into Stormscale Scion. I mean, come on.
Wait, what?
It's not even,
Wait, how does that work?
It's just 2 5/5 flyings. That's okay, I guess.
Wait,
2 5/5 flyers on turn 5?
Wait, how do you do that?
I mean, that's really good.
How are you doing on turn 5? You have to control the dragon.
Oh, because you have to have the dragon. Okay, dude, Mox Jasper is so awesome. It should be yeah, okay. I don't know. It's bad. I guess I don't know.
What if it said if you behold a dragon at 1 minute? You can only activate if you behold a dragon. There you go.
Ooh, that's actually activate only if you behold a dragon.
Oh, you're just going to reveal.
That works.
Yeah.
That actually works because it's you either reveal it or you choose one you already have in play, which then means you can activate only if you control a dragon.
The other
but it would be better. It'd
be too good.
They did that deliberately so that you can't do what I just said.
Also, imagine that would be turn 1 if you have this in your hand. It's just like you get 2 mana on turn 1. Like, Nah, not one.
Yeah, true. You're right. If you have a dragon in hand, then Mox Jasper's just activated.
Yeah, like every other Mox, you could at least struggle a little bit trying to activate in turn 1. That wouldn't be a joke.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, moronic brain of Kyle aside, yeah, this card is hella dope. I mean, it's going to be good with Mox Jasper. Let's say you have a dragon or two in play already in turn 7 or 8. Cast a couple Dinker 1-drops, and then you play 3 Stormscale Scions, 4 Stormscale Scions. I mean...
And the fact that
holy
Sarkhan
shit.
is showing treasure generation implies that there might be some more treasure generation, which would make Storm scarier.
I think at minimum, you would want this to be stormed once. If you play this by itself, it really isn't that strong because it's other dragons you control, so it doesn't buff itself. It would be a 4/4 Dragon Lord for 6, which is pretty weak.
Yeah, I think you need at least 2 to make this on rate. Not on rate, like reasonable.
Right. And then it scales up ridiculously hard.
It doesn't have haste.
Like,
it doesn't have haste either, so that is an interesting...
But they have to respond with a board wipe. What are they going to do?
But they have a
3
turn.
Targeted removal
But they
spells?
do have a turn to like deal with
yes.
it. I agree. One,
I think if you play
bad.
3...
One's definitely bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think at 2 or 3, this thing is extremely powerful because then, even at 1, right, if you storm it just once, like, they have to use one of their targeted removals on a clone of a Dragon Lord that you got for free, you know, like, it's tough. It's going to put your opponent in a real bind.
It's also, like, really...
There's going to be times where you just storm this for 4 and people will instant concede.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, 4 is what? You make... 4 7/7s or whatever. How's it?
Yeah, 4 7/7. Yeah, 3 of them would all be 6/6s, 18 damage, and by that turn, they're just dead on the backswing.
There's just something special about having a bunch of big dragons. So
I mean, even just having Mox Jasper in the set that has Stormscale Scion in it, I feel like is pretty silly.
Seems
like,
yeah, it seems stupid.
Because you can just, like, even if you have 3 of Mox Jaspers in your hand and another dragon in play, that's like all your triggers for a turn 6 humongous Stormsail dragon. So yeah, it's interesting that they, or if you have another dragon in play, I guess that's turn 5. But yeah, it's interesting, or even actually it could be even sooner, because you could play the Jasper, tap it, play another Jasper, tap it, play another Jasper, tap it. Like you could, yeah, this card seems, just even with Mox Jasper alone, seems pretty crazy. I'll be curious to see if with Storm they bring back, because the old Khans block had Rebound in Dragons of Tarkir. I'd be interested to see if they bring that back to help with Storm. You know, and
this better be the one Storm card. There's no way that Storm is a returning mechanic. This is a complete one-off for sure.
Think?
Yes. You think Storm is coming back? There's no way.
The set's called Dragonstorm.
No chance, P-Pants.
Watch,
it's called Storm Scale Scion. Like, it's got Storm in the name. This is just like a total wink. This is not going to be a returning mechanic.
Yeah, I guess Dragonstorm, all about the Storm plane. Maybe that's all it is. Yeah,
right.
They just put one little nod to it. They
had to.
Right.
Yeah. I am right.
You win. Then I guess it wouldn't be like a holistic set.
You play Sarkhan, you reveal Stormscale Scion, you get your treasure, you get Mox Jasper at some point. I mean, you could very reasonably play Stormscale Scion on turn 5 with a storm count.
Yeah, with sizable storm count.
Reasonably.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. And then your Sarkhan is like, dude, your Sarkhan is like a 6/6. You know what I mean? Great.
Oh, you're totally true. Yeah, because when a dragon ETBs, you get the counter. So yeah, I mean...
Hey, he's a dragon!
And he turns into a dragon too, Kyle.
Yeah, so
like
he... Holy shit, yeah. He would be so fucking huge.
That's actually really cute that he ends up being like a dragon payoff.
Yeah.
I could play 2 guys.
These cards are all cool, man. I'm super excited for Dragonstorm, a tricolor set, which is just what we've seen here. It seems like they're doing some interesting things. So this is awesome. Excited to see what they do.
Yeah, sorry, I'm fucking with Yuki on my lap, my little doggy.
That's what you called your peanut.
Yeah, I'm just not. So cool cards these were.
Okay. Yeah, you got
I'm
it.
almost tempted to, because I love talking about spoilers and just dissecting cards like this and talking about them in different formats and with everyone's different play styles, what they're thinking about. It's just so fun to talk about this. I mean, this is a 2-hour podcast with just the three of us. It felt really quick, but this is what Carver and I used to do until the wee hours of the morning.
And we talked about 11 cards too. Like I know we brought up a lot of corollaries and stuff, but it's just 11 cards. It's not even like, imagine they had the whole set spoiled. Like,
yeah, no, this would be a part 1 through 7. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally down to talk about more spoilers. If we want to do Final Fantasy, like
you really don't want to. I'm going to make you now because I can hear the aversion in your voice.
Okay.
I'm going to make you do that. And Spider-Man, we won't talk about an in-universe set ever again. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, we will become the Universes Beyond Magic podcast.
Isn't every Magic podcast that now?
Yeah, right. All right. I'm done. Nothing else to say. That was fun.
Yeah, it was
good cards.
Thanks.
Excited for more.
Yeah, till next.
Until next. Jesus Christ.
Okay, on 3, all of us say until next time.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Until next
time.
Next time.